Hello everybody, this is Delifer, and we're back in If My Heart Had Wings. Everything should be back to normal now, so let's carry on. Annie said that she had to make some revisions to a checklist made by one of the old members.
じゃあ次はポジティブコントロールチェックだ。
As she says that, Manny gets in the cockpit.
右エルロン。
The rest of us standing outside go to the part that she calls out, in this case the right aileron, and hold on to it to make sure it's hard to move. Manny makes the moves the yoke to operate the aileron. At this time, if the yoke can be moved with no resistance whatsoever, it's possible that the coupling between the yoke and the aileron has been cut. Ooh. If this were a car, it would be like moving the steering wheel and the wheels not turning. Needless to say, that would be extremely dangerous. Of course it would. These checks are also carried out on the rudder and elevator. Yay, had finished it. Can we fly now? Please? Pretty please? And when it gets out, and I sit in the back seat. Then, we repeat the same checks. Oh boy. What type of view is that? Now the assembly checks have all been completed, I get out of the cockpit. Everyone lines up for a briefing.
今日は風も穏やかで、テストフライトにはちょうどいい日だな。
Woo. Amanda, who would normally be explaining the preparations at this point, speaks with a gloomy look on her face that contradicts the things she is saying.
だから怖がる必要はないぞ。きっとうまくいくからな。
She is not confident.
怖がってるのあまねちゃんでしょ?
Oh dear. Chloe speaks quite tactlessly, and then Manny freezes up. Then, shake, shake, shake. She starts trembling. Oh dear.
グライダーは飛ばない。そういう意味じゃ、今日はフライト日和とは言えないな。
We're gonna die. We're gonna die. Hey, what are you talking about?
ちょっと小鳥、どうすんのよ。いや、どうって言われても。
No, she's just being herself.
今日は中止にしよう。組み立ての練習ができたんだからもういいよな。ほら、何言ってんの。ここまで来たら普通飛ぶでしょうが。いや。君たちはまだ初心者だから知らないだろうが、グライダーのフライトには本来もっと荒れた日の方が。あまねちゃんがビビってるだけでしょ。だってそういう時は手のひらにひとって字をたくさん書いて飲み込めばいいのよ。
Swallow it.
そんな迷信信じないぞ。
Does that even work? Exactly. She sounds like a kid when she said that. I can't stop laughing now.
風が穏やかな方が安定して飛べるだろうし。
I think so too.
やだ、怖い。
Oh, she said she's scared?
しょうがないわね。アギャ、葵くん。
What are we doing? Oh no. A country signal? Aggie and I hold Manny firmly from each side. Oh god. Doesn't sound like her, does it?
すみません、あまね先輩。
It's for your own good.
やめろ、離せ。
While we hold on to Manny as she struggles against us, Kochi writes the Chinese characters for person on the palm of her hand in ridiculous number of times. Ridiculous number of times.
こんだけ書けば十分でしょ。
Then Kochi takes a run up. What? Hey, there's no need to take a run up. Oh god.
やだ、やめろ。ノラ。
Ow. Smack. Rather than making her eat the person characters, Kochi slapped her right in the face. Ow. This was just like the kind of thing that happens in pro wrestling, where three bad guys team up to hurt one of the good guys. Oh god.
これでどう？少しは怖くなくなったでしょ？
I'm pretty sure someone came running up, well, I don't know, wheelchairing up to you at super high speed and then hit you in the face. I think you'd be quite scared. Oh god. Having had some frightening spirit slapped into her, Amane holds her nose. Fighting spirit. Not frightening spirit. Oops. Why did you slap her in the face like that? Ow. This is totally crazy. Amane, are you alright? What the hell? Giving a little smile, Amane walks towards the winch. What do you mean? Oh god. Oh god. Chloe chased after us as we went off ahead. Oh, good. Goody good. On one side of the runway, a huge thing that looks like a household generator. No, that looks a little more like a tractor to me. This is the winch. A glider which has no thrust of its own cannot fly into the air by itself. There are a few different ways for it to take off. A method using a towing plane is often used, where a regular plane is used to tow the glider into the air, where it is then released. This can be done if you can get it into a certain altitude to begin with. However, if you don't have an airplane, which is expensive, you have to use another method, which is this thing. Okay, now it's not a tractor, it's something else. That's where the winch comes in. The winch. To explain it simply, it's a machine which reels in a rope using a giant motor. The glider is connected to the end of the rope, which is then lifted to a great height to make it take off, just like kites that have flown on New Year, are they? The difference is that the glider is huge and quite heavy. Naturally, the winch has to be huge too. Okay.
最初はフルパワーで、機体が地面から約30度に達したら、徐々にパワーを緩めていって。
Alright. Amane is teaching Kotri how to use the winch. She already explained this a few days ago, and we tried operating it before, so now it's just a recap. Our roles for today are that Amane and I are the pilots, Kotri operates the winch, and Agia helps with the takeoff and landing as well as the ground control. Okay then. By the way, the winch isn't as expensive as a plane, but it still appears to be quite pricey. It was used by previous members of the Soaring Club, maintained since, and will now be put into actual use, so it's been in service for many years. To be honest, the equipment here goes way beyond the scope of high school club activities.
OK、わかったわ。
Can we finally fly?
それじゃ、離陸準備に入ろう。
Yay! Alright! We walk back to, from the winch towards the aircraft. It's about a kilometer away, so it takes a while. 10 minutes later. Amane gets into the front seat, with me following her and getting into the back seat.
シートベルト、しっかり締めてね。
Okay. As Agia tells me to do this, I check the seatbelt several times.
ペダルに足は届いているか？動かしにくい部分はないか？
It's okay. I can't reach the pedals, I'm too short. Oh dear. The canopy, the transparent lid that covers the cockpit is closed.
キャノピーがロックされているか確認してくれ。
Okay. I checked the lock. If it's not properly locked, it may open during the flight, which is really dangerous. Everything's dangerous. Amane performs a final check on the flight controls. Outside the canopy, Agia checks the rope extending from the winch that is connected to the glider.
先輩、リリースのチェックお願いします。
Amane operates the release lever, and the hook holding the rope is immediately released. If this isn't released, it's possible that a big accident could occur, so it must be checked before landing.
OK です。
Agia gives a signal from outside and connects the tow rope once again. We suddenly feel a lot more nervous. Now the aircraft will fly through the air. It still doesn't feel real. For a start, could an aircraft that we made ourselves really fly? There's no engine, and it can't even flap its wings like a bird. So, will it really be alright? I've had the theory explained to me many times, but you don't get a feeling for what it's really like from the theory alone. If you want that, the only way is to fly. Finally, we can fly. Finally. Amane's nervous. Amane?
大丈夫。怖くない。怖くない。
I guess technically she's putting her life into Aoi's hands, isn't she? Ooh.
みんなが作ってくれた翼は、私のなんかよりずっと優れている。だから大丈夫。
Was she like this before when she had to fly it on her own? Yes.
さっき小鳥が恐怖心を追い払ってくれたし。でも、いざとなったら頼んだぞ、葵くん。
Leave it to me. This is why I trained on the simulator until I got sick of it. In my head I go over the steps for takeoff. The most dangerous part of the flight is the landing. However, the takeoff is also dangerous and accidents can easily occur. This time I can rely on Amane, but I need to learn a lot to understand even a little about how it's done. Knock, knock, knock. Agia taps on the canopy from outside.
準備
Yes. Amane and I reply ready, and Agia walks around to the side of the aircraft and lifts up the left wing that was in contact with the ground. The aircraft became level. The wings of a glider are really long, and it can't stand on its wheels like a normal plane, so it is placed with one of its wings touching the ground. That's why when launching it, someone has to run along holding the wing up until it gains lift. Oh, hello Kotri. Agia, who is holding up the wing, gives the signal that launch preparations are complete to Kotari, who is waiting far away, in the distance, somewhere.
行くぞ、葵くん。
Okay. As Amane speaks quietly to me, whoosh. The aircraft suddenly lifts up. Pulled by the winch, the glider quickly accelerates. The wheels bounce along the unpaved runway. Agia ran along while holding up the left wing. I look at her from the side and our eyes meet.
行ってこい
Okay then. Whoosh. A few seconds after the aircraft started moving along the runway, it felt like it was floating upwards. That was after only moving along a few meters. Then it started to float slightly while accelerating.
上昇するぞ
I only pulled back on the yoke. The aircraft tilted upwards. I don't know what the angle was, but I felt like it was a really steep angle. Probably was.
上がれ
We can't hear you. Oh, we have music. Come fly with me. Come fly and crash. I like the sound of that. Whoa! My whole body was shaking from the G-force. It felt like the floating sensation was equal to the feeling of being pulled by the winch. I looked down through the canopy. However, at this angle, the main wings blocked my field of vision. I could hardly see the ground at all. How high are we now? Being unsure of the situation sowed the seeds of the fear in my
平
mind.
行線切り離す
I hope this music doesn't get me copyrighted. The feeling of being pulled suddenly disappears, and the aircraft floats gently as it's been set free. That's because it has been released from the winch. We're flying. From that moment, the glider was no longer borrowing the power from something else. It was flying all by itself. I've never experienced this before. This strange feeling of floating. The sound of the wind is extremely loud.
葵くん平行策を確認してくれ
I, sitting in the back seat, turn around to see the tow rope that had been safely released. The rope with a small parachute attached falls slowly to the ground. Release confirmed, Captain! I don't know, I'm excited for some
よし
reason.
離陸成功だ
Woohoo! The glider was able to fly into the sky without any problems. You say that now.
飛んでるちゃんと空飛んでるよ
Okay.
いや見て見て飛んでるよ見てるよ
hope you guys can hear me. I checked back on the recording a few seconds ago. It didn't sound like you guys could hear me.
私たちが作った翼が飛んでる。ああやって飛ぶんだ。
God, I like this song.
やっぱり感慨深いものがあるわね。あ、ロープが降りてきた。回収しとかなくちゃ。
Okay.
いいな、葵くん。
It really is, I think. We really are flying. This is awesome.
下は見ない方がいいぞ。怖いからな。
You don't need to look down. Please keep looking straight ahead.
ラジャ。
Oh wow. I checked the ground in place of Mane. We're about 300 meters above the ground. Oh, Agia's gonna get the tow rope. The tow rope, in other words, the rope coming out from the winch, was attached to the bottom of the aircraft by a hook. The hook can be detached any time from the cockpit. This is usually done just before the glider reaches the point above the winch. Even if there is a problem with the controls for detaching it, once the glider goes past the point of being directly above the winch and is pulled from behind, it is automatically released. Once it's released, a small parachute is opened and it falls slowly back to the ground. If it's not detached, it will cause a terrible accident, so we must check to see if it has been released. Of course. I think by now it's definitely been released, or you'd end up basically plummeting towards Earth. As I sat in the back seat, I enjoyed the view from 300 meters above the ground. We're overlooking the city. I could see the roof of the Flying Fish Manor, which was quite close to the runway. I could also see Agia's house, which looked tiny. Ah, it's a school. Wow, we're really flying.
あんまり飛んでると言わないでくれないか。
Aww.
意識してしまうじゃないか。
Oh, sorry. Holding my tongue, I simply enjoy my first flight. When I saw the glider flying from below, it looked like it was really carefree as it flew, but once you actually ride it, it really does feel carefree after all. However, hearing the rushing sound of the wind, and the feeling that the wind resistance goes right into my body, are things that you don't get from a simulator. Those things are the forces that keep the glider, which has no thrust, in the air. Even when the aircraft moves down slowly, it doesn't feel like it's falling as it flies, leisurely through the wind.
この翼はすごいな。
What's that?
安定感が抜群にいい。本当に私が作ったものとはまるで違う。
That's good then. It's all thanks to those guys.
ああ、降りたらいっぱいハグしよう。旋回する。
Okay. She said as she tilts the yoke to the right. The aircraft leans to the right all of a sudden. Whoa! Amana returns the yoke to its original position and corrects the aircraft, which had banked too far, but she moves it a bit too much, and then it banks to the left. Amane, what are you doing? Oh dear.
何やってるのかしら、あれ。
We're doing some maneuvers.
さあ、主翼のテストかな。にしては、なんかヤバげだね。もしもし、あまねちゃん？もしもし、あまねちゃん？
We received a transmission from Coterie.
フラフラしてるけど、大丈夫？
I think so.
大丈夫じゃないかも。
Oh dear. Amane, calm down! We're all gonna die! There's a few moments earlier, Amane, who had tried to level the aircraft, leaned it too far, and then back again over and over. Of course she would.
エルロンが痛すぎて。葵くん、出番よ。
Okay, Amane, I'm taking over. Amane lets go of the controls. In her place, I take over the controls from the back seat. Double-seater gliders have completely the same controls in both the front and the back seats. Oh, the sound stopped. That's good. just like I did on the simulator. I tried turning it using the yoke to control the ailerons and the elevator, as well as the pedals to control the rudder. I tilt the yoke to the right and the aircraft banks. You really only need to move the yoke back to its middle after banking, but in this case it needs to be moved a little in the opposite direction. So this is the counter steer. I get it! The reaction of the ailerons is too sensitive, but it's okay, this won't be a problem for me. When I say that the reaction is too sensitive, I mean that if I just move the yoke a little, the ailerons move more than normal, which causes the aircraft to lean too far. They're misaligned. If a Mane who is really clumsy were to use the controls like this, it could be a bit dangerous. She already did.
大丈夫かな
We're only gonna
大
die
丈夫よ
slowly.
いざとなったら湖に飛び込めばなんとかなるわいやならないでしょそれ
Not a good idea to fall into the lake.
地面に落ちるよりマシよ
That is true.
お治ってきた
Whew. It seems like we're level again.
丈夫なのか葵くん
Yeah, something like this, no problem. It's a little hard to maneuver, but it should be fine once I get used to it. Okay, I'll pilot it for a while. For now, I'll just fly once around the runway. I slowly turn the aircraft and make it turn around above Kochiri and Akka. Nice green grass. From above, I can see them both waving. I wonder if Anshan is watching us too. I can just about make out the roof of Anshan's factory from here. I can't. I turn a little more, and now we're above the lake. Shall we go to the other side of the lake?
今日は気流が安定していて上昇気流を見つけるのに難しそうだ
Okay. If we can't ride the vertical giraffes, we can't raise the altitude. Even though we call it flying, it's actually the glider is continually falling slowly. So if there are no vertical giraffes, we will have to land at some point.
この翼なら抜けるかもしれない
There. Roger that. If it looks bad, we'll turn around and come back. Of course. We shall. And there we go and fly. Flying through the sky. I don't know many songs that involve flying. I wish I could fly. We disappeared.
あれどこ行くんだろう風車の丘に向かうみたい届くかなさあ
There we are. Oh, what was that? The glider proceeds to fly across the lake. The altitude is gradually dropping, but we are alright for the time being.
ケーキは私が見ているから
Thank you. I learned how to read the instruments with the simulator, but I'm still not used to it. We just flew straight forward, and after a short time, the other side of the lake came to view. And there they are. There. We saw the gentle slopes of the hill and the windmills lined on top. Today the wind is quite weak, so they weren't really turning that much. Oh.
なんだろうあれ
Girl A, that means it's going to be a girl B.
ん
And there she is.
どこ
It's the twins!
ほらあそここっち来るよ飛行機かなあ、ほんとだ姉さんって昔から目がいいわよねしかしやけに低いところを飛んでるのね速度も出ていないようだし
She doesn't look very impressed, does she? What's happening now? From over there, we saw you flying for the first time, Amane.
あの時か
That was the day I came back to this town. The day it all began. The day you met Kotori. That time, Kotori was waving her hand at the glider. Did you see her?
いやそれどころじゃなかった
How would you be able to see her? Come on.
あの日は気流がいい具合に荒れていて生きた心地がしなかった
Oh. What is that? Oh. Where we're speaking, we crossed the lake and are now above the windmills. Just like Amane did on that day, we slowly turned above the hill. It felt really strange to look down at the giant windmills from above. Would it? I guess.
ゆっくり回ってる。変な飛行機だね。あれはグライダーじゃないかしら。
Spot on.
グライダー？ええ、多分だけど。グライダー。すごくゆっくり飛ぶんだね。エンジンを積めばもっと早く飛べるのに。どうしてそうしないのかしら。
Maybe because they don't want one? I don't know.
葵くん、だいぶ高度が下がってきているぞ。
We are? Roger, heading back. We can't stay here for long, we need to head back across the lake while we still have enough altitude. As we turn back towards the direction of the other side of the lake... I could see people on top of the hill. There are two of them. They must be girls. They could be boys. It seemed like they were looking up at us. Bleh. They're like gliders, the same as Kotri. Well, one of them doesn't seem that interested. While making that up in my head, I leave the windmill hill behind me. I got an itchy head. Itchy, itchy, itchy.
あ、行っちゃったね。ふわふわしてて、なんだか頼りなかったわね。
See?
でも、飛んでるって感じがした。
Okay.
戻ってきたよ。だいぶ低くなってるわね。着陸するみたい。もしもし、葵、聞こえる？
Moshi mosh. Moshi monsters. Loud and clear. Now, commending landing.
了解。着陸するって。
Well then, I return the controls to you.
了解。
Do we not know how to land? Nodding nervously, Amane grips the yoke. Oh god. It's said that landing is the most common time for glider accidents to occur. Because it's going from flying to being in contact with the ground, one mistake can mean it's very easy to suffer some kind of physical damage. The landing is difficult, and when you push the yoke forwards to lower the altitude, the speed can increase. If you're travelling too fast, there will be a large impact when landing, and you won't be able to stop after landing. Ow. It's possible to go past the end of the runway and collide into something. Ouch. That's why you need to lower the altitude while keeping the speed as low as possible. For that reason, the main wings of the gliders are equipped with several types of lift-reducing apparatus. By reducing lift, the altitude can be reduced without increasing the speed. Even though gliders are quite simply built, there are several different devices equipped for takeoff and landing. Hello, girls.
降りてきた。いいよいいよ、そのまま。
Fingers crossed we don't crash and die now. Do we land? I guess so. Bam. Ack. Oh god. Amane, in a way that could almost be described as a rough landing, sets us down on the ground with the feeling like we were falling. Ooh. The glider, returning to the ground, ran along for a few meters before the wheel breakers stopped it.
おかえり。
As we opened the canopy, Agia thrust her face inside. We made it. And I think with that, I think that's probably the best point to end it. I haven't made a video this long in a while, have I? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been Dalifa. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Thank you again, and goodbye.